Have you ever wondered where God came from? Or if you're an atheist, have you ever wondered where the universe came from? That's what I'm thinking about today. It's one of those questions that can be hard to wrap your head around. We think of things having a beginning and usually an end, but at the very least a beginning. We religious folk tend to think God created the universe, but the atheists just look back to the Big Bang Theory, which suggests the universe exploded into existence. The thing about that, though, is the Big Bang Theory doesn't disprove the existence of God. In fact, at the very least, I think it kind of proves that God does exist. This shouldn't come as any surprise, considering the Big Bang Theory was developed by Georges Lemaitre, a Catholic priest. Now, granted, he was also trained as a physicist and taught physics at the Catholic University of Louvain. But that's beside the point. The point is, he was a priest, and he didn't think his theory dispelled the belief in the existence of God. The thing is, something doesn't come from nothing. For anything to exist, something had to always exist. Oddly enough, one person who I think summed this up well in one sentence is Q from the Star Trek franchise. I don't remember exactly how the question was phrased now, but when asked how or when the Q came into existence, his response was that the Q did not come into existence, the Q always existed. Well, that's basically what God is. God didn't come into existence. God always existed. Star Trek is a strange place to get a quote like that, considering its creator, Gene Roddenberry, was not religious and the main characters don't believe in any sort of deity. But considering Q is an antagonistic character, maybe it should be no surprise that a storyteller skeptical of religion would make an omnipotent being an antagonistic character, but I digress. The idea of something always existing is what God is, though. It's not just a quote from a character in Star Trek. I've heard religious folks make similar statements before, too. But God has to be an eternal being who always existed. Otherwise, nothing would exist, because nothing could have been created if there was nothing already existing to create something. But we know something was created because here we are. Who created us and the universe we live in? It couldn't have just exploded into existence out of nothing, because something doesn't come from nothing. Some people may call the creator another name, like the source, or the creator, or intelligent designer, but I think they're just trying to avoid using the name God. I don't see the point in beating around the bush, though. Just say God. It's easy to say and spell, just 3 letters in one syllable. God is the source. God is the creator. God is the intelligent designer. I'm not preaching any specific religion here, though. Not right now. I'm just being philosophical right now. I'm saying for anything to exist, something had to always exist. Some may ask, well, who created God? But the answer is simple, though hard for us to fully comprehend. God was not created. God always existed. There's no reason to think otherwise. I mean, how far back could you go with this? If God isn't an eternal being, then who created him? The super God? Then who created the super God, the mega ultra super God? It's pointless to go that route, because no matter how far back you go, you wouldn't find a beginning where something came from nothing. Something can't come from nothing, so even if God had been created by something else, that something else would have to be eternal. But there's no reason to think that God isn't the original eternal being. That would be going a Gnostic route. Gnostic thinking suggests the God of the Old Testament is a demiurge pretending to be the supreme being. But we're not talking about a demiurge. When we are talking about the eternal being, God is who we are talking about. He isn't a created being. He is the uncreated creator. He had no beginning. He always existed. Anyone else is just a part of the creation, like the rest of us. In life, we move forward in time towards the future. We tend to think the future just continues on into infinity. Some scientists say the universe will eventually reach a time called the heat death, or the big freeze, which is a way of saying the universe will no longer have any thermodynamic free energy to continue to expand and will just reach an endpoint. This suggests that the energy that caused the Big Bang to explode the universe into existence is the beginning of time and the universe, and the heat death will be the end of time and the universe. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is true, but it doesn't matter. The Big Bang or a heat death is neither the beginning or end of existence, because you see, there is more to existence than just the universe. There has to be, otherwise there could be no universe. The Big Bang couldn't have come from nothing, so it had to come from something. That something always existed before the creation of the universe, and presumably will continue to exist after the end of the universe, if the universe even has an end, because that something always exists. That something for me is God. You might call him something else or be content acting like you're fine saying you don't know what came before the creation of the universe, but whatever the case may be, God existed before the creation of the universe because the universe couldn't exist without a creator. It's not just the future that is infinite. The past is also infinite. There is no beginning or end. It's just where you choose to start and stop the story. There are an infinite number of stories that could be told, though. Some New Agey types of people seem to refer to the universe as if the universe itself is the eternal being. Think of stuff like the documentary film The Secret that suggests there is a law of attraction, that if you send out positive intentions to the universe will provide. But if the universe itself was the eternal being, then the Big Bang couldn't have happened because the universe would not have an origin point. For the universe itself to be the eternal being, the universe would have had to have always existed with no beginning or end. And actually, you'd think this is the viewpoint that works best for atheists. At least with this viewpoint, they wouldn't have to try to explain what existed before the Big Bang. But I guess if they claim to follow the science, and the science suggests the universe came into an existence with a Big Bang, then at the very least, even if just to keep up appearances that they follow the science, then they have to say the Big Bang is where it started, even if they don't want to admit something existed before the Big Bang. But I guess the idea that the universe itself is the uncreated eternal being doesn't really work for me, because I don't know if the universe itself is intelligent enough to be the uncreated being. If something doesn't come from nothing, then how would intelligence come from nothing? Some might say that intelligence is an emerging phenomenon, but I don't buy that. The universe appears to be designed to be the way it is by something intelligent. The universe as we know it seems to just exist in motion following a set of rules and processes. The universe itself as we know it doesn't give off the appearance of something that has intelligence itself, but the appearance of something that has been created by something else that is intelligent. I think that something else who is intelligent is God. So with all of that said, I think God is an eternal being who always existed with no beginning or end, and he is the one who created the universe we live in. The universe had a beginning and it might have an end, but the universe itself is neither the beginning or end of all existence. God existed, and will continue to always exist. We don't know what else God may have created besides our universe. Maybe there are other universes. I think there are other realms or existence outside of our universe that we know. So even though the universe may have a beginning and possibly an end, there is no beginning or end to existence. Orson Welles said if you want a happy ending, it depends on where you stop your story. But no matter where you choose to stop the story, life still goes on. Every story has a beginning and end, but existence doesn't. God doesn't have a beginning or end. God always existed and always will. Those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening.